Good morning and welcome to Faith Fridays with Coach Ellis. This is the day I spend just a few minutes talking about principles and thoughts from the book of life. So, we're starting a new series for the next several weeks. I want to cover the 7 realities of experiencing God. Now, I didn't create this. This comes from Richard and Henry Blackaby along with Claude King's book, Experiencing God. And they posit 7 ideas that they call the seven principles or the 7 realities of experiencing God. And if you look back at all the seminal moments of your life, all the times when you know God spoke to you, when you know you've heard from God, or when there was a lesson in your life, I think you will find these 7 realities had come into place somewhere, especially if you had to overcome an obstacle or you had to get past a stumbling block. So the first reality is that God is always at work around us. And simply what that means is that God didn't show up when you showed up. Before you even got there, God was doing something. Whether that's your job, whether that's in your home, whether that's in the church you go to. If you just got married, God was present in the environment before you got married, probably in her life or his life before you got married. God was always at work. This idea that God is at work around you means that God has been laying the foundations. He had been preparing the space just for you. So when you show up in a place that has been designed to teach you something, show you something, or give you something. And so if God's at work around us, well, why do these things happen? God, why is there a shooting in El Paso? Why is there death on the horizon? Why is there war and famine? And we think certainly God cannot be working, but in the midst of all those things, we find places where the people of God say and do things that change people's lives. And so God is at work around us. And we may not even recognize what's going on, because remember, if God is who he says he is, and I think that he is, that he knows everything, he can do anything, and he can be everywhere at the same time. Him being at work around you means that he was preparing things 20 years ago for where you are right now, so that you can be where you need to be 10 years from now. And he is all those places right now at the same time. This reality that God is at work around us means that we must trust in God's process. So, Coach, why did I fail the class, and why did I have a car wreck, or why did my check bounce? Whatever. Why did I get laid off? Why did I get fired? Why did my house burn down? I can't answer the questions of why, but here's what I do know: it does not escape the viewpoint of God. It does not escape God's notice. And I will tell you that whether he orchestrated it or he allowed it, he is at work. God is never off his job. When we find ourselves struggling with where God is, it's not because God's moved anywhere. It's because we have moved away from God. God is at work around us. And I believe what Henry Blackaby really wants us to get is that if we understand God, if we're beginning to try to understand God, certainly as we begin to experience God, realizing that it's his plan that's important. Him being at work around us really means that he wants to work through us. And he allows us to be in the environment he wants us in so he can work through us. I heard a young man this morning preach a sermon that said very simply, we must we must acknowledge what God does for us so we can appreciate what he wants to do through us. That means that while we're going through, the reason we weren't in the car accident or the reason we weren't hurt nearly as bad is that God was at work around us. We don't know what hurt, harm, and dangers we don't even see, because God has been at work around us. So that which we are allowed to come in contact with could have been a whole lot worse if God wasn't at work around us. I want to encourage you today to look around and see what God is doing and recognize what he is doing, therefore joining him in his process, in his plan, and in his way. Instead of just trying to say, God, here's my path, you come along with me. Let's reverse it and let's go to where God is. God's always at work around us. Hey, you got questions or comments? Hit us down below. Shoot me an email at coach@elliscrum.net. send me an inbox at Facebook at Coach Ellis Crum, or join our website at www.elliscrum.net. Until next Friday, have a one-tabulous faith. God is always at work around you. Friday. God bless you. We'll talk to you later.